Welcome back to another episode of Unraveling Intellectual Property with Michael Stein. Today we've got part three of discussing the day in the life of in-house counsel with Todd Marlette. So we left off last time and with discussing all these evaluations and meetings, but I believe you've got something or some things more to add. So what else you got to tell us, Todd?
Well, I thought I would touch on the process for international prosecution. So at Qualcomm and with most large uh, companies, we'll file in the U.S. first, and then we'll file PCT.
Excuse
And
me, do you ever file Paris Convention or is it pretty much always PCT?
it's towards I cannot remember the last time I did a Paris Convention case. It was always PCT.
All right.
The benefits would be that if you gamed the system right, you could get two bites at the apple with the PCT examiner. And now uh, I'm not there is acceler we know the changes to accelerated examination in the US, but a lot of times the PCT review would come back before the US case. Now that's changed now, but that would usually be the case. If you gamed the system correctly, and you were very quick on the PCT response, you could have two bites at the apple and two stages of review with the PCT examiner. And one of the fun parts is that sometimes the second office action might not make its way into the public file wrapper of the PCT. So sometimes you could have some negotiation that might not necessarily be easily publicly accessible in the patent application. So that was, and then from the PCT, we would usually use our metric system to decide which countries we were going to go into and then go from there.
I take it you had a bunch of foreign associates that handled those filings?
Oh, yeah. So usually for most cases, the PCT was handled by the by the outside counsel would also file the PCT case and prosecute that case. And once again, the higher metric cases, there would be a lot of review internally by me. And then for the very high value cases, we would have a group meeting, usually on Tuesdays, where we would put the claims up on the board and put the standard up on the board, the industry standard, and then have a group discussion on the most valuable cases. And then when we went to, and then usually a big focus would be Europe, because a lot of the countries will follow Europe. So if you get the case in Europe allowed, then, for example, India, if you get the case allowed in Europe, India will just simply follow what Europe has done 99% of the time. And then it would be very persuasive in Korea. Japan, a lot of times, would give us a lot of extra art. And then China would kind of be hit or miss as well.
I mean, every country has its own standards. So when the application is drafted in the first place, is there any consideration to the different requirements in different countries? How much impact does the potential or the actual foreign filing have on the preparation of the application in the first place?
That's a great question. Every single case.
Once in a
Be,
while, I do ask a great question.
so every single case is drafted for international prosecution. And the two big sticking points in Europe is going to be clarity and industrial utility. And so those are the two main uh, characteristics that you have to build into your US patent application. That if you're just doing US prosecution and you're not thinking about those, you could get hung up in Europe. A big example and one takeaway from this is if you have to file a rush provisional patent application because something's going on, there's going to be a public disclosure, we're submitting it to the standards body, and we got to hurry up and file a provisional. You better make sure that the word invention is not anywhere in that provisional patent application. If you say the invention is, and then you have that wording in there, nine times out of 10, the European examiner is going to say, well, that's the invention, and
Not the claim.
disregard the rest of the application. So that's one of the big no-nos when you're filing rush provisionals, and put that into your keyword list that you're going to double check before you file.
I know from my experience with the European patent system, it seems like the US system is more flexible when it comes to clarifying or using claim language, which isn't necessarily exactly what's in the specification, but the European Patent Office is very particular as far as, I'll say, somewhat inflexibility, and you better use the exact same words that you used. And the clarification is more strict, but on the other hand, the 101 and the patent eligibility seems to be more flexible in Europe.
Yes, I would say that.
I
We
raised
won't
two
go into
points
means
there, I
for
know.
claims.
What?
I said we won't go into means for claims because that's usually the other way around. But yeah, I would have to say that I would agree on that with that it has to be pretty exact. Now, this isn't for firms like yours and mine. This isn't really that big of an issue because we use claim checking software. So, you throw it in there and you get your statistics. So you make sure that every element in the claim is described in the specification with two or three fallback positions, usually, if it's done the way that my clients, and I'm sure your clients want that too.
Yeah, I mean, no clients want unnecessary issues that go on in that regard. Uh,
Mhm.
what else would you like to add? Anything?
Um, I, I would just say that, I mean, we've got a lot of AI is coming into the mix right now.
Yeah, so
I've
how, I mean, one good question everybody wants to know, how are companies and how are law firms implementing AI in their uh, policies? I mean, I know you've got privacy issues, open, closed AI, ghost material that gets in there. So, from your experience, what are companies, I guess, focusing on the companies, what are they doing to implement AI?
There are basically two camps that I've seen. Some companies have an absolute prohibition on using AI. So for example, and sometimes this might be specific to certain quality metrics in cases. So in other words, a high value case, would they might say, do not use AI. Of course, I'm a member of the IPO, Intellectual Property Owners Association. There's a detailed white paper which is publicly available. There's been a lot of discussion from the Patent Office
I
on the
mean,
use of AI.
maybe we can include at the end or something, if you could forward me a link to that white paper. I'm
Certainly.
sure our audience would be interested in that.
Well, that's right. I think it's a great resource. And also the feedback from the Patent Office is that, people are using AI to assist with the patent application drafting process. There's a number of companies out there. And
Lots.
so there's a lot of learning that's going on right now with AI. And so there's not a hard and fast rule.
I
I
mean,
question how, the value proposition right now versus how it's going to be 2 years from now. I think 2 years from now, everybody's going to be using AI as part of the process.
it's kind of like back in the day, when we first started, people were doing stuff on paper and word processors, and then people started using email, and every technology takes a while to implement. Of course, every single computer software company out there says you can't practice without my software. Of course, they're making a sales pitch, but it's going to be interesting times. I guess one of the things that I like about being a patent attorney is hopefully we're always at the edge of the cutting technology.
Oh, definitely. And to follow up on your point, I mean, I remember when we started together at Stoss and Halsey, I was given a dictaphone. And so,
I remember that. Go back, and then your paralegal would type it up, and what the heck is this? I don't remember saying that.
I know. So yeah, so
And
I
and
missed
everything,
that.
we used to save everything, every draft we'd put in a folder, and the folder would be this big, and then it would go into some storage room, kind of like that Raiders of the Lost Ark at the end, that nobody knows where all that paper goes.
Oh,
Uh,
that's right. Yeah, those
Brendan,
were the
well,
days.
thank you very much, Todd. I've learned a lot. Why don't you make a quick plug for your law firm if you want, and then we'll wrap things up.
Well, certainly, I have a small boutique law firm. Our focus is basically drafting patent applications. We cater to the value-centric large corporations, so that are doing patent applications to enhance their portfolio. We have defensive and offensive patents, or ones that do both. So we're fluent in the technology and happy to help.
Sounds great. Well, thank you for uh, agreeing to be on the podcast, Todd. I'm sure we'll have you back because I'm sure you'll have more things to add, maybe some of your other perspectives, not necessarily tied to in-house counsel. And to everyone out there, thank you for tuning in to Unraveling Intellectual Property with Michael Stein, and look forward to seeing you next time. Take
Okay,
care.
thank you.